So thanks to topsport.com.au. We're doing the Sydney Racing Review, and today we're looking at day one of the championships. Great day of racing, and I've got Mark Rhoden with me. How are you, Mark?
Yeah, not too bad at all, Mark. Not too bad.
Yeah, as I said, one of the really big days of racing with the TJ and the Doncaster, the highlights on Saturday. I guess just first of all, there was a bit of weather in the lead up, and how did you see the track play just overall?
Yeah, it played pretty much as I expected it to. I actually thought it'd be pretty fair, but rails and run would be certainly no disadvantage. As it turned out, the rails was a decided advantage. I think the strong northwesterly might have had something to do with that. Actually, I'm sure it did. It didn't really. I wouldn't really have changed a hell of a lot from what I sent out at 9 o'clock to what I did later. There's a couple of horses that were unsuited, and Rubisaki in the last was well suited. Originally, I thought it might be a bit unsuited back on the fence, but that turned out to be no problem at all for her. But yes, yet again, we've got a significant pattern at a Sydney meeting, but it wasn't too hard to predict, so it didn't have too much of an impact on me.
Yeah, we're 6 days out, but anything from Saturday that would you think will apply again next Saturday in terms of the track?
I think even though the weather forecast doesn't look too bad this week, I just think at this time of year, and if they do get a shower or two during the week, that it will be a pretty testing track again. I don't think it would have done it any favours having to race on it on day one of the championships on the heavy 8. We saw Rose Hill just fell apart once they had to run on a wet track there, and the track just didn't recover for the rest of their carnival. Hopefully it's not that pronounced, but I think probably fit horses again will be to the fore. As to a pattern, I'll have a look at that during the week, but I wouldn't think on pace or up the inside would be any problem again next Saturday.
No worries. All right, we might jump into it. And yeah, as you said, we kicked off on a heavy 8 with race 1. It was the kindergarten for the 2-year-olds. Doubtland for the Hawks won this pretty convincing win too at $5 from Gerl and Not an Option. Anything in this race catch your eye?
Well, the winner,
of course.
1/4. It's been a pretty good race over the years, the kindergarten. It's changed its position in the calendar a couple of times, but in recent years it's been part of the championships, and there's been some good horses win it. And it's a bit hard I've been doing my post race on this meeting this morning. It's a bit hard to assess this one, exactly, because on his sectionals he looks like he's right up there with the best 2-year-olds we've seen this season. Now they can do that. He won well at a midweek meeting first start, and he's gone up in class and come out 1/4. So he's obviously taken a step forward, which 2-year-olds can do. But he might be very, very good. Just the slight doubt in my mind is that he did have the benefit of first use of a wet track. So those times and sections might be, the overall time isn't breathtaking because it was a very slow early pace, but his turn of foot and late sectionals look really good. But those sectionals might be a bit flattering because it was first use of a wet track. But I liked what I saw, and I don't know where they go with him, with what's going to be a bit of a changed racing calendar around Australia in the next few months. But even if not this campaign, he's certainly one to be looking out for next season as well. He looks very, very promising indeed, especially on wet, by not a single doubt.
Absolutely. So yeah, the obvious one to start the day with, one to keep an eye on. Race 2 was the Group 3 Carbine Club for the 3-year-olds. Entente, good one for the bookies. Won at $17 from Bottega at 12 and Power Scheme at 14. So this certainly didn't go the way the punters were assuming. How did you see it? I know Cameron rated Entente fair bit higher than that and actually tipped it, but how did you see the performance?
I only had it about the performance was all right, but I think he was one of the runners that both the pace and the pattern really played into his hands. I didn't bet in the race. I reloaded. I had Clearly on Top, which I thought you sort of had to coming out of races like the Rosehill Guineas back in this race. But he had a good run and just failed terribly. Just clearly ended prep for him or something like that. they're just okay 3-year-olds. I think Tom's been flattered by the conditions on the day and gone to the best he can do. But Taker was all right from back in the field. He's got ability, but he's got a very one-dimensional racing style, which is always going to make it hard for him. But if he gets conditions to suit, if he gets a bit more pace in a race than he did on Saturday, that'll suit him. And Power Scheme, who'd run honestly down in Mornington the start before, did the same and rated to about the same level. I don't think there's any superstars in this, and I'm not sure what kind of form of it will be, to be honest.
Absolutely. So on to race 3, which was the Country Championships final, and geez, the end here, they were coming from absolutely everywhere, and it was Gracie Bell who got the win at $21 for Maddie Dunn from El Mahaha at 13 and Plonker at 15. I think you could have thrown a blanket over the first 5 or 6. Was there anything in particular that stood out to you?
Not particularly. It was the Country Championships actually thrown up some pretty good winners in the last couple of years, and Victorium and Noble Boy, who went on to be competitive in group races, but I can't see that happening here. Ones that look like they might have a bit of a class edge, Bobbing and Julian Rock failed badly. Bobbing got a long way back, couldn't get into the race. He was unsuited, but he wasn't even running past the ones that were back there with him. He did nothing. And Julian Rock was ridden forward and didn't finish off. Too Big Fari was the other one. Too Big Fari and Ligulate were the other two in single figures. Too Big Fari I thought might lead. He didn't get across, and he was just fair late. And Ligulate didn't have much luck from back in the field. Blanket finish, not a great Country Championship. Gracie Bell got the right run. I thought she was a little bit over the odds, but it wasn't a race I was going to bet in. She got that rails run, which has been enough to get her home. El Mahaha, very honest. To be honest, it won't be a form reference for much because it wasn't much stronger than a good highway.
Okay.
So I won't be reading too much into it.
No worries. Race 4 was the Adrian Knox, the Group 3 Adrian Knox over the 2000. Colette for Godolphin got one for the punters, $3 favourite from Toffee Tongue and Quintessa. You backed Toffee Tongue, I think, and went all right, but yeah.
No, I needed. Well, this race revolved around Colette and Paradis. Paradis had a wide run and didn't finish off. She was some risk at 2002 on her breeding, I thought, and once she had the bit of a torrid trip, that was the end of her. Colette had this really strong platform of provincial performances to go to a whole new level, and that's exactly what she's done on Saturday. She's fulfilled that potential that she looked like she might have and absolutely destroyed them. So by backing a horse like Toffee Tongue, which was a spec bet at odds, I was sort of hoping that Colette didn't make that progression and Toffee Tongue would be sort of in the best of the rest category, which is exactly what happened. She ran really well and ran second. $46 on Thursday at places. Yeah, she was just mispriced earlier. But, no match for Colette. She's really the only horse with pretensions to winning better races than this in the race. She's now favourite for the Oaks next week, and rightly so. I would probably Beale's the classy one, who, if she can run 2400, will give her a race. But you're out to horses like Shout the Bar, who won the Vinery in an absolute walk on a leader's track, and it's $5. So I'd be much keener on Colette than a horse like Shout the Bar next week.
Okay. Race 5, the Chairman's Quality over the 2600 metres at Group 2. Raheen House, $17. Another fill up for the bookies from Cariff. Actually ended up running $5 favourite, which you were on, and third was Mirage Dancer. So you were on Cariff, which ran second, and Gayatri, which didn't really fire. How did you see the race versus what you're expecting?
Well, what I didn't foresee was that it was going to be that truly run. I thought it was going to be, moderately run at best.
Yeah.
And I thought Cariff mapped really well and was going to get his chance. He's a staying type, and 2600 was going to suit him. As it turned out, Jay Ford really wound the pressure up on, Think It Over. And then you had Angel of Truth had been caught wide pressing on mid-race. So it was really solidly run 2,600 metre race. You don't often see that. What that meant for us, unfortunately, is the Carafe travelled really well, and through no fault of Tim Clark's, he was sort of forced to hit the front a bit earlier than he wanted to, I suppose, but he was going that well. He had no option. But the whole setup of the race played into the hands of Raheen House. Strong European staying type of thing. Had 4 runs in Australia, never gone anywhere near the level he's gone to on Saturday. He did have that. He did have overseas figures similar to what he's done on Saturday. So he clearly had the ability, but he just never got the conditions to suit like he did on Saturday. And I certainly didn't, and I don't think many people would have foreseen that the race was going to be run like that. If we knew that in advance, I'm sure he would have been a lot shorter in the market. Also suited Mirage Dancer, who was giving them all weight and ran quite well for third. Gallic Chieftain always goes well third up, and he's done so again, but he might be just a bit past his best now, but he ran well as well. So I was, and as you mentioned, Gayatri just dropped back and never got into the race at all. Was unsuited, but still, he was beaten 12 lengths, did nothing. Very happy with the bet on Carafe. The race went to its best. It just didn't quite, well, Raheen House got all the favours and was able to get over the top of it. Carafe was a pretty good bet and ran well.
So happy to stick with Carafe, depending where they go?
Look, he's a bit of an, I thought that was his race.
Okay.
He was really well weighted with 55.5. Looked a good setup for him. He's become a bit of a non-winner. I don't know. It'll be very much case by case with him, because I thought that was the day. That was the one for him, but it didn't pan out.
No worries. So race 6 was the first of the Group 1s, the 2-year-olds, the sires over the 1400. King's Legacy at $19 for the Snowdens. Got the win from Prague and Mamaragan. You backed AIM, I think. Bit of a small bet on AIM, who ran 5th.
Probably wants a drier AIM and might not be much good. I wasn't that taken with what he did on Saturday, but might have been the wet track. Being forgiving, it might have been the wet track. The bigger talking points here, well, the main talking point was the ride on Mamaragan, who was very solid in the market, and I think that was because the pattern had become pretty well established by race 6, and it looked a map on speed. It had drawn 2 with Nash. It just ticked all those boxes, so the punters piled into it, and it's ended up back, and then coming 6-7 wide on the turn. Just incredible how he ended up where he did. And he ran really well for third, but the setup was just totally against him. Old Kirk, who drew 3, ended up back with him, making his run with him, and it's run 4th. I got the map totally upside down here. I thought Prague would go back from the barrier, but he jumped really well. And Brent Abdullah showed initiative and said, right, I'm going to make use of that and put him up right outside the lead, which is the place to be. And he's run quite well and just been run down by a horse who got a better run, pinching runs inside. Huey Bowman Road tracked really well on Saturday and got the money here. I think from a form perspective going forward, it's only the horses who had excuses here, such as Mamaragan and maybe to a lesser extent Old Kirk, possibly some others. I don't think the winner's much good. I think that was his birthday. He'll never be that well suited in a race again, I think. So King's Legacy's actually favourite for the Champagne in 2 weeks ahead of Mamaragan, and I thought, well, I would back Mamaragan to beat King's Legacy 99 times out of 100 next time they meet. But I just read that it's going to the paddock. Mamaragan and John Thompson thinks it's had enough of this prep, so that meeting won't take place. That betting opportunity is off the table. But if King's Legacy is going to be a short favourite in the Champagne, without knowing exactly what's going to be against him, I'll be looking to bet around him, because I think he had his birthday on Saturday.
Was a bit flooded?
I think so.
Fair enough. Race 7 was the Derby for the 3-year-olds over 2,400. You mentioned the Chairman's was truly run. This was a pretty fascinating contest from the gates. Quick Thinker SP'd at $8 and got the win from Zabrowski at 13, Eric the Eel at 19. So good result for you. You back Quick Thinker, but yeah, pretty fascinating race.
Yeah, it was bizarre, wasn't it? We had a line of about 6 or 7 going into the first turn, where I think most people thought there wouldn't be anything. Well, Sacramento looked the leader. and there are a couple of others who looked like they'd be settling second, third, and yeah, everything wanted a piece of it early. Opie Bosson did the right thing, sort of stayed out of it, but wasn't too far away. Then as the dust settled, he ended up outside the leader for about 100 metres just coming out of the home straight the first time. Then some of those things stuck wide, whipped round, and ended up with a beautiful trail, about 3 back and 1 off the fence. It was just perfect. And that early and mid-race tempo really played into his hands too. He was the reason I liked him is because we were dealing with a heavy track. For a lot of them, first go out to 2,400, not all of them. A couple have been out to 2,400 before, but on a testing surface, fitness was going to be the issue, and he'd won the lead up over 2,000 the previous Saturday. And Zabrowski, who actually ran second in the Tulloch Stakes, to him has run second again. So that the fitness and the toughness on the backup was clearly the deciding factor in this race. I think it would have been critical anyway because of the track condition, but the early tempo just really even exacerbated that point even further. Great runner at the Eel, the Queenslander, who I didn't think was up to this class, but it's probably better than I thought it was. Ran really well for third. Probably some excuses for other horses in the race, like Warning. Castelvecchio didn't run the trip. Shadow Hero probably wants it drier. Yeah, the race is actually rated pretty high, but I think that's sort of a function of the early pace, which was probably stronger than a normal derby, and the rating in figures terms might be a bit flattering for them because they won't get those conditions again. But Quick Think is certainly a good staying type who loves the wet, and he gets those conditions really competitive in most races out to his right trip. And Zabrowski's just improved every start this prep, so it's the one with a bit of potential. They might have a horse there in the spring too.
Yeah, right. I was just going to ask you about Castelvecchio. Just didn't done the trip. 260 it jumped.
Yeah, I assume that's it. He was beaten before the turn though, and he ended up after all the fireworks early having to settle quite well back. But maybe it was the track as well. Just totally out of his comfort zone really, and he was beaten a long way out.
So I think is that 4 years straight now that the winner of the Tullocks won the Derby?
That is right, 4-0.
Yeah, amazing.
And there's a few wet tracks in there too, which I think is probably key as well.
Okay, under race 8, which was the TJ over the 1,200 metres, and Nature Strip got out the front early and stayed there, as he tends to do,
Yes.
from Santa Ana Lane and old mate Redzel, who ran third. So I know in the preview you were pretty keen on Santa Ana Lane. I think most of what you said came to pass. Just Nature Strip had one of his days out in front.
Yeah, and broke my own back of the envelope rule about taking better than $3 Nature Strip. But as I mentioned on Friday, I was a bit worried about him putting 2 runs together. But the way the track was playing, this happened last time at Randwick too in the Challenge Stakes, I think it was. He was racing on a track that was clearly going to suit him, and the market didn't come for him. The market race came for Pirata, Loving Gabby, and Exceedance, who are all, they mapped terribly, really, on the way the track was playing, and they were the ones the market wanted to be on, and they weren't that hot on Nature Strip. They looked perfectly well suited. Just, I think that's an example of that. There is a little edge in when you get a track pattern like this. There are examples of it at Caulfield too on Saturday as well, where some of the syndicates and models probably don't account for them as much as they should be. And I think this is clearly a case, because if you were using the track pattern as the most important factor on Saturday, there's no way you would have been letting Nature Strip go around at 440. I mean, I've missed him myself because I thought he was off a peak, but I really thought the market had tuned into him, but it didn't. Santa Ana was great, got the right run, ran really well, but Nature Strip's unbeatable when he's on his game and he gets conditions to suit like that. So nothing we can do about that. Now, he was a good bet at the price, but Nature Strip was just too good.
So race 9 was the Doncaster over the mile, of course. Bit of a boil over with Natoya at $41, flying down the outside to get the chocolates from Star of the Seas and Brandenburg. A few smaller bets for you. You backed Brandenburg, Cascadian, and Yulong Prince.
Yeah, I had Brandenburg on top. He's run really well. He's probably set a little bit further back than I thought he would, but he still had a pretty good run and ran well, fallen short by about a half length. And then I spec the two fit wet trackers, Yulong Prince and Cascadian. I thought Yulong Prince was the winner at the 300. He burst through in the right part of the track, but just finish up at all. Cascadian wasn't suited by the pattern, really. Didn't have much luck. Wasn't going to win, but probably should have finished closer. This is the second time the tour has done this in the space of a month at Randwick over 1600, coming from last or near last to blouse them down the outside on a track that was favouring leaders. So, I mean, she loves soft ground. She loves the Randwick mile. I was put off by the jockey change to the unfashionable James Innes Jr., but, well, made to eat my words there. The horse has flown for him, gone to absolute best. And a first Group 1 winner for him, richly deserved, that was too. Star of the Seas came up the inside, would have got me the quaddy actually. Star of the Seas run really well, loves the wet. He's been placed in 2 big Randwick miles. Now he's third in Epsom, now second in Doncaster. So, yeah, Randwick mile and wet track, obviously right up his alley. And behind the postgetters, they did finish in a bit of a bunch. Melody Bell's the talking point, obviously. A lot of criticism for Opie Bosson and his ride. In this case, I think that's quite unfair. He drew 11. He'd sort of slotted into the 3 wide line with cover, which is where I mapped the horse. I couldn't see it getting any closer to the rail than that. And then, unfortunately for him, just coming into the first turn, all the speed went out of the race. There was big shuffle-ups inside him, nothing to do with him, and he just got posted 4 wide for the rest of the race. So, short of putting horses over the fence to hold his ground, there was nothing he could do. So he was clearly just a victim of circumstances. I think the criticism of him personally is totally unfair. The horse's run, considering she was carrying top weight and had that wide trip, was very good.
Okay, and the last of the day was the Group 3 PJ Bell over the 1200 again, but for the 3-year-old fillies. Rubisaki with the punters liked it, and great performance from way up in the sky and Akari. Again, a couple of smaller bets for you on Heart of the Oak and Plaquette.
Yeah, I looking at this meeting last year, and this race was race 10 that day too, and had a similar sort of track pattern, pretty fair, but up the inside, probably favoured. By race 10, a Godolphin horse called Multaja was really well backed and came sailing down the middle to knock them off, and I thought that would be the pattern again. Things maybe settling off the fence by this stage would be suited. Turned out not to be the case. On the fence was still the best ground, so that meant that Rubisaki had drawn 2 and was clearly the best horse in the race, was then going to get the right one, and Nash was able to actually get it off the fence in the straight, and yeah, it was all over. She's actually gone to a new peak on my figures. She's a really nice filly with a great turn of foot. She was better than those. I probably overthought the pattern a bit, thought the back inside wasn't going to be a plus, but even though she was a long way off the lead, she was always travelling. And once she got that split at the turn, it was game over. Way up in the sky, solid figures, has run well again. Akari's freshened up back in distance here and gone close to her best as well. Plaquette was very well backed, one of my bets, and she was sort of run off her legs. The step up in class just got her completely. She was out of her comfort zone, never travelled, didn't finish off. Heart of the Oak went forward with the blinkers on, as I thought it would, but didn't finish off. Fortunately, they're only small bets, but yeah, missed the winner here, so I'm a bit annoyed about that. But yeah, she's one of the better 3-year-old fillies at the 1200, 1400 metre trip, Rubisaki. Very nice horse.
Fair enough. All right, well, that's the 10 races. So it's hearing here, Pat, aside from a couple of pretty impressive winners, perhaps not a whole lot of other black bookers, if you like, to take out of the meeting, just given the conditions?
Yeah, not really. I think it's one of those meetings where you're going to have to be forgiving of horses that weren't suited. I find myself saying this a lot, some of these tracks in Sydney, but it really is the case. Yeah, some of the winners were flattered, certainly not all, but some were flattered, and you can certainly make excuses for plenty of beaten runners as well.
No drama. So next week we've got day 2 of the championships. In between, what else you got on this week?
We've got Kembla tomorrow, looking at a few races there for that this afternoon. Warwick Farm Wednesday, Wyong Thursday. Then we've got Good Friday this week, although it's a bit like Good Friday every day at the moment.
It is.
And then, yeah, day 2 of the championships on Saturday.
Good stuff. All right. Well, yeah, we look forward to a few meetings this week, and then, yeah, Saturday, the big one, day 2 of the championships. We'll talk at some stage before then and do a bit of a preview of that.
Sure. Yep, look forward to it.
Thanks, Mark.
No worries at all.